You're tuning in to Drive with NAR, the safety series, powered by Realtor Magazine in partnership with the Realtor Safety Program. Hear harrowing stories from real estate professionals who have faced danger in the field and expert advice on how to work safely. Get more safety tips at nar.realtor/safety. As real estate professionals, you often find yourselves guiding clients through renovation decisions. But there's more at stake than just design choices. A bad renovation can hurt your client's resale value, drain their finances, and even create safety hazards on the property. And that impacts your reputation too. In this episode of the Safety Series, we'll talk about how to help your remodeling clients protect both their physical and financial safety. You'll learn how to help clients make smart renovation decisions, avoid common remodeling mistakes, and vet contractors who do the job right. I am pleased to welcome Brendon DeSimone, an agent with Compass Connecticut in Greenwich, Connecticut, and Blayne Pacelli, an agent with Rodeo Realty in Los Angeles. Welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, first, let's talk about the home improvement market. Now, we know renovation demand has been high since the pandemic. What type of renovations are delivering the best return on investment ROI right now, and how does that look in your market? Brendon?
Yeah, so it's typically kitchens and bathrooms that get the biggest bang for the buck, and it could be as small as changing out your countertops, painting your cabinets, cleaning your grout. But for the most part, curb appeal, kitchen and bath, I think, go the farthest in this market.
Okay, what about you, Blayne?
So he's right. Kitchen, bathroom remodels. Strangely enough, redoing your front door, getting a brand new door, a deck. If you have a nice backyard, you want to put a deck in there, and manufactured stone veneer, and refinishing your hardwood floors.
Wow. And when we realize that the average age of the home in the U.S. is about 40 years old, it makes sense that we're updating those. Now, Brendon, as an agent, how do you assess which updates will make a property more marketable? And what is your process to guide them toward a smart as well as a safe renovation choice?
It's helpful to get the owner of the property to sort of think of their house not as their house, but really as an object, a marketable product, and see it in the eyes of the buyer. That means depersonalizing the house, making smart upgrades and updates that will appeal to the masses. That's landscaping, the front door, like Blayne said, making sure that the walls are painted neutral colors, removing porcelain items, and again, going back to kitchens and bathrooms, making those look as good as possible.
Okay, Blayne, choosing the right contractor is crucial. Now, what are some of the risks to a client's investment and their physical safety if they don't work with reputable contractors?
First of all, when you're dealing with a contractor, you want to get in writing everything that they're going to do. What are the costs of that? When do they expect to do certain projects? Is there a time frame? If you live in that house while they're doing these projects, just be aware of who is going to be in the house and at what time.
And then this is where we're talking about protecting their financial investment. So often we talk about physical safety, but right now focus on the financial safety, picking the right contractor, as well as the quality of work. What are some questions that your client should ask to vet the contractors to make sure that they line up there?
I've been selling properties for over 23 years, so I have some really good contractors that I work with, but it's also very important to do your research also. I would ask for referrals for people that these contractors have worked with. I think that's very important. I'd also look at their license to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it, that they're actually still valid, and also look at the Better Business Bureau. I think that's also very important to picking the right contractor. I mean, it's nice that a real estate agent is referring somebody, but you really should still do your due diligence.
Right. And this is where I tell real estate agents to be a resource. Be the source of information. Where do they find contractors and good contractors? And Nextdoor is a website that's a great one for looking and seeing what neighbors are saying about the contractors. You can hear the good, you can hear the bad. Now, Brendon, some clients want to make highly customized changes to their homes. How can that impact the resale value, and how do you guide them towards smarter, safer choices?
I always say to try to stick with neutral colors, neutral design in general. If you really want to go crazy in a couple of rooms, go for it. But be mindful that when you go to sell it, you may want to undo that work. Painting a room red might be nice for you, but red doesn't appeal to the market. It's grays and whites. And when you're going to sell, you can hire a designer or stager to help you understand exactly what the most marketable colors are, fixtures and finishes before you go on the market.
Right. Now, there are probably some projects that aren't necessarily a good idea. What about like a spiral staircase or the multi-level decks? There may be a safety issue. Have either of you had any conversations with clients about that?
I mean, if there's a property that has a spiral staircase and I've seen a lot that are a little dilapidated, to be honest with you. I would make sure that you redo it, refinish it, make it look uh make it look nice, but not many people want a spiral staircase in their house.
Right, or any kind of custom renovation. Now, on occasion, through the years, I have been contacted by attorneys who have said, we want to file suit against a homeowner because there could be a missing floorboard on a deck or maybe a latch on a door that was dangerous. Do you talk to your clients, the sellers, about any kind of dangers when they're getting their house ready to put on the market?
I always do a walkthrough with the clients, indoor and outdoor, to not only look for upgrades and changes, but safety issues like that. A rotted a board in the deck or a piece of bluestone that's a trip hazard. You're gonna have strangers coming through your house, and a slip and fall could turn into a big lawsuit very easily. So this is the time to get all those things that you've sort of turned a blind eye to over the years and get them addressed.
What about you, Blayne?
So I always recommend to my sellers or someone who's going to put their house on the market to do a pre-inspection on the house. Someone who really is knowledgeable at that. I mean, we could do a walkthrough, but for someone to really get down to the nitty-gritty, kind of point out certain things that need to be changed or should be changed before you put it on the market, or if the sellers don't want to do it for some reason, at least we'll know what the buyers are going to look at and what they're going to probably ask for at the sale.
Got it. Now, Blayne, are there certain times when a client just should not renovate at all?
100%. If I go in and look at a property and everything's dated, the bathrooms are dated, the kitchen's dated, well, I wouldn't remodel a bathroom if the whole house needs remodeling because it's just not going to be worth it for you. And are you really going to, let's just say you have a certain taste and the buyers have a different taste. They might not like that, so you might be turning some buyers off. So if a house needs a complete remodel, I would just say put it on the market. It's a blank slate. Let the buyers come in and redo it themselves.
Okay, and Brendon, this is where we're talking about financial safety, helping protect the seller's investments. Have you ever had any conversations with sellers where you said this is just not going to be a good remodeling or renovation decision?
I tell the sellers when they close with me as buyers, if you want to do any work, please call me first, even the smallest amount of work, because you don't want to alienate your property. I always say I have my seller's hat on the same time I have my buyer's hat on. And then I say to them, if you want to do it this way or put in a spiral staircase or paint, strange colors, be prepared to undo them, but be mindful of the market. I always say it's your home first, but it's an investment in very close second.
Got it. Now, I know it may not be in every single market right now, but for multi-generational homes, do you advise your sellers to baby-proof the home, or is that a conversation for buyers before they buy a house, as well as senior-proofing a home? What are your thoughts about that, Blayne?
Well, I do recommend baby proofing. I mean, if you're going to have a baby or family, it's highly recommended. But if you're talking about multi-generational homes, I recommend for a buyer if let's just say they're getting a second story house, to have a room on the bottom floor for your parents because they're not going to want to go up and down the stairs. And if it's a one-story house, to have one room on the opposite side of the house so your parents can actually feel like it's kind of their own space.
That makes sense. Now, Brendon, are there any safety conversations you're having with buyers who are perhaps thinking about a multi-generation home, or even if they have children in the family? Are you talking to them about childproofing to make the home safe?
Not so much childproofing, but the first floor primary suite is a big deal for buyers who want to have their parents come live with them or parents whose kids are going to come live with them. Pretty big deal, or the opportunity to possibly renovate the first floor and put in a bathroom and have a first floor primary.
Okay, and I like that because aging in place is a big deal because the baby boomers, they're aging fast and they're still, according to this report, they're still buying property. So we do need to talk a little bit about that. Okay, another question for you guys is what's the one thing you recommend clients do before they even start a renovation project? Any concern with safety or financial advice that you want to offer to agents to have that conversation with the sellers?
Owners today don't realize they have so much equity in their houses, and a good way to pay for the renovations is a home equity line of credit. Use the equity to your advantage. That's money that's you built with sweat equity, and I think it's a great way to do a bathroom, do a kitchen if you don't want to move because your rate is so great. Use a home equity line of credit.
Okay, Blayne, what are your thoughts?
I also feel the same way. If you have especially here, a lot of people have some equity, so getting an equity line of credit is huge. But no, there's so many different stages of doing a remodel, like planning, design, demolition, rebuilding and framing, mechanical, the walls, flooring, appliances, and all the final touches. So, you're gonna have to think, is this worth it for one thing? But if it is, go ahead first and make sure everything's safe, because there's a lot of contractors that you want to feel safe with. So again, I just wish everyone would do their due diligence.
I would say call me first before you start doing anything. Before you hire a contractor, paint colors, check in with me first.
And so that's the agent being a resource again. So definitely show your value by being a resource. And to your point, Blayne, when they're doing their due diligence, you don't want strangers who may be criminals in your house. So that's another reason to do your homework. It may be a hassle to call previous clients or to do that extra research, but that keeps you safe. Determining who is in your house. So one more tip here before I ask you both for your advice for your fellow professionals or fellow real estate professionals. When we talk about some of the remodeling projects that should be done, I cannot let this conversation go without talking about some of the safety projects. That means making sure that the smoke and fire alarms and detectors now have the lithium batteries, talking to them about radon detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Can either of you think of any other safety tool in the house that they need to make sure is up to date and addressed?
Well, earthquake gas valve, that's very important. So it is actually mandatory in Los Angeles that you have to have a earthquake gas valve in the house. So it's basically like a little box that fits on the gas outside. And so if an earthquake happens, this ball will cover the pipe so the gas can't spill out.
Oh, wow.
But I think that's a very important, probably the biggest important safety tip.
Oh, and I love the conversation that you can have around that when you're consulting with buyers and then making sure sellers have that in order. What about you, Brendon? Any?
I always tell the buyers that having your inspection is a really great opportunity to learn about your house. Take notes and consider once a year going through things like your batteries for smoke and carbons, checking for radon, detection and mitigation systems, changing the filter in your HVAC system. Talk to your inspector about the 5 or 6 things you need to do on a yearly basis to be much more aware of how your house functions and what you can do to keep it safe.
Oh, I love that. Okay, final question. This is where you give your fellow agents marching orders. You tell them what they need to do starting today to make sure that when they have the conversation about renovation, that they're helping their consumer protect their financial as well as safety investment. Let's start with you, Blayne. What are your marching orders?
I mean, my marching orders are do your due diligence on the contractor that you are going to recommend to anybody. I think that's so important today because there are so many flaky people, especially in Los Angeles. There are some contractors, that might do an amazing job for 1 or 2 people, but then really drop the ball on some others. So just please make sure that the contractor that you are recommending to your seller or your buyer is going to be a professional, is going to be a safe professional, and going to do a really good job for your client.
Right. You seem passionate about that, so I appreciate that. What about you, Brendon? What are your actionable tips for your fellow real estate professionals?
Look, for as agents, our job is to sort of keep our people informed, be a resource. Don't just be making a quick sale, move on. Check in with them on a regular basis. If they're doing a renovation, give them ideas. Tell them to contact you for resources for anything, even a plumber or an electrician for a small issue you need. We should be around well past the sale, and we should be the first person your buyers now, owners call when they need help. That helps provide value add for you and helps for the business long term.
Agreed.
That sounds good. Be a resource. I want to thank you both so much for joining me today. And I hope that this conversation shows our listeners that safety is a part of everything that you do as a real estate professional. Now, everybody, stay safe. Thank you for joining us on Drive with NAR, the safety series. New episodes drop at magazine.realtor/drive or wherever you get your podcast. NAR does not endorse any product and does not take a stance on any specific safety tool. Members are encouraged to use only those safety tools in which they're properly trained. Additionally, the views, opinions, and concepts described on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. We encourage listeners to consult with their own legal counsel. Find more safety resources at nar.realtor/safety.